We're keeping an eye out on that tamarack fire continuing to burn in Alpine County. The fire has grown rapidly this weekend. According to the latest update from the U.S. Forest Service, more than 18,000 acres burned, and there is still no containment on this fire. At least 2 structures are destroyed. Officials are expanding evacuation orders as this fire moves north near Markleeville. Mandatory evacuation orders are now in place for Sierra Pines, Upper and Lower Manzanita, and Crystal Springs. Alpine Village, Diamond Valley Road, and Hungalalti are also under mandatory evacuations. People in Grover, Hot Springs, Shea Creek, and Markley Village and Markleyville.
Hey everyone, my name is Karan, and today we are out here documenting the reforestation project here in the Sierra Nevadas, specifically the Tamarack National Forest. 2021, a big fire came out here and pretty much destroyed all of these trees. We're joining some researchers as well as a couple scientists that are here today that are explaining to us how they're making an impact in rejuvenating this forest. This forest is completely in shrubs, covered in dead trees, pretty much going all around and replanting and digging the holes in order to replant certain specific trees so it can grow again. So yeah, let's go check it out.
And something like 60% of the Tamarack fire burned at high severity. Yeah, and historically that would have been closer to like 20% in the prior to European settlement. We would see fires that burned at much lower severity. We're actually our thing that we're working on today is an experimental planting, but the forest will be replanted as a KED. It might be next spring, because they sowed the seeds and they're going to replant it, so I think they'll be ready next spring. And they'll replant the area that had the terrible survival. I think a lot of these trees still had their bark, and then there was a huge storm that came in.
And just swept it all away.
Yeah, tons of the bark. A lot of these down trees are really recent. Definitely since the early 2000s. There you go. Nice.
It's important to know it's like a really scarce resource, reforestation, so anything from seeds to seedlings to people who are trained in planting in nurseries, and we kind of really need as a society to like focus on really increasing our capacity to reforest, because there are millions of acres waiting to be reforested, and there'll be millions more joining.
Toggles are in the middle, so if you press it, it won't go. And then
I first got interested in fire ecology when I was working in Montana for a summer, and I was helping to survey areas that had burned, and we were going back a couple years after the fire. And it was so cool for me to see how green it was under the dead trees. And so just like a couple years after the fire, it was already so much new growth coming back, and that was like really exciting, and I thought it was so beautiful. And that's what made me want to study this like post-fire restoration and post-fire recovery kind of work.
We have, due to climate change, past forest management, and many other factors, we're having larger, more severe, and more frequent wildfires. And if you've lived anywhere along the Sierra Nevada in the last 10 years, you know that we have many weeks where we're choked out in smoke. And this isn't a trend that's just a blip on the radar. It's going to keep increasing. We're expecting more and more large, high-severity fires. And even this planting, it could be run over by a reburn in the next few years. So it's something that we need to try and do our best to replant, try and do our best to do forest management activities that can reduce that fire severity. But we also need to realize that fire is an important part of these ecosystems. In the historic forests, we would have had fires coming in every 15 to 20 years at a much lower severity that led to really low forest mortality. And so if we can get back to that, where we have more frequent fires that aren't smoking out towns, but they're low severity, still having most of the trees survive, I think that's where we want to be heading. We can do our small part as a Forest Service to do that in areas that are accessible to us.